he was coming into the weekend, and he had a date with Rita Clark.
What's that name again?
You can tell he didn't bother me at all. So we broke up over it. Well, then he was dating her seriously.
Oh.
And I couldn't stand to see them together. I was just completely heartbroken.
Now,
I was madly in love with him.
Let's step back a second. So he came in, he had his date with Rita Clark. Was he sneaking around and he got caught going out on the date? Or?
I don't remember. No, we were supposed to have the date and he didn't show up. He went out with her. That wasn't very nice.
That's terrible.
It really was. So we broke up, and I don't remember, but it wasn't so. I just, well, let's see. I would have been 20s. I was 27 when I got married, but I'm not sure how old I was when. So I quit my job, and all by myself went to Florida. Well, we had the young man that was Jim's best man at our wedding, his dad was president of the bank, the only bank in North Florida. And he at one time, and so we knew his family son. And he had asked me to come to work at the bank, but I was making more at the coal company than at banks. Banks, I think, still don't pay real good money, I've heard. And so I asked him if he would give me a recommendation to, bank. He had a friend in Fort Lauderdale. I was originally going to Miami, and Fort Lauderdale's just next door, so to speak.
What made you pick Florida?
Oh, I just thought it would be a beautiful place to be. Didn't know anybody. So I had a lot of clothes. I packed a trunk. I had that.
Did your parents tell you were crazy to go that far away?
No, they didn't seem to mind that I was doing it. I guess they figured I was old enough to know what I was doing.
Were you living at home before you left?
Yes.
Wow.
I was living at home. So I get to Fort Lauderdale and get off the train. I get a cab over to a hotel. I don't know how I found a hotel, to go to. And then the next morning, I think I must have had to call a cab to go to the bank, and I go over and I have, this long type letter, what an excellent person I am, and that he wanted me to work for him, but I stayed with another company and so on. And I go in and ask to see Mr. Jones, or whatever his name was, and he was out of town for a couple of days, but to please call, when he got back, and he would be glad to see me. But I'm a person, I like to know what's happening. I don't want to wait. So the next morning I get up and check out. I don't know where my trunk is. I guess somewhere at the station while I'm doing all this. And I get a bus into Miami, and I go to the unemployment department, and I took a shorthand and typing test and an English test, and they said they had an opening at Weston Electric. So I go over for an interview, and I don't remember now. I guess I took buses. I couldn't have been walking, too much, going to different places. So Mr. Haggard interviewed me, and that was like about on a Tuesday or something. And I went to work on a Thursday. And the girl that interviewed me at the unemployment department, she said, where are you staying? And I said, well, I just got into town. I don't have a place to stay yet. And she said, well, I live in a girls' club just right off of Biscayne Boulevard. Water's just across the street. And it had been a kind of the rich section of town. So it was a big, home girls' club. So that's where I lived, and I went to work in about 2 days. And I was there about 2 years. I dated a boy, Bud, don't even remember his last name now. But I just liked him as a friend, but he asked me to marry him, but I said no. And I guess
So
it,
how long
Jim,
did you date Bud?
I lived there about 2 years, and I probably dated him about all that time. But then, no, now before I left, they would send them to different, this was, they had, when I'd go toward my office, they had this room, and they had these huge boards things that went from the floor up to the ceiling, had all kinds of little different colored wires, yellow, green, red,
Wow.
all kind of electrical stuff. And he was transferred somewhere, I don't even remember now. And then I guess it was soon after that, I just decided I wanted to go back home.
Wow.
And so I went to Mr. Haggard and I said, I'm kind of homesick, I want to go back home. And he said, well, if you just say that, if you would ever want to work for us again in any city, that we're located in, they would not even consider hiring you. But if you'll say that your mother isn't well and you want to go home, to be near her. So, I was thinking, but that's what I said. But at least he liked me as a secretary. Yeah. So I came back home, and somehow Jim and I started dating again.
Let me ask you this, because it's kind of like a movie. When you're going down there to Florida, did you make sure that Dad knew that you were where you were going, or wonder if he'd come down there after you, or?
In fact, he took me to the train station.
He did?
Yes.
Were you waiting for him to say, "Don't go"?
Probably, now that you mention it.
Was Helen with him, or what's her name? Rita?
No,